Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking one of the most baffling, high-stakes mysteries unfolding in Washington right now. We're talking about a fiercely anti-regulation administration, one that famously promised to slash red tape, suddenly hitting the absolute brakes on artificial intelligence. So what could possibly cause a total policy pivot like that? Let's get right into it.
Okay, to really grasp the sheer whiplash here, we have to compare the administration's stance on day one to where they are today. Initially, they outright canceled the previous AI safety executive order. The rhetoric was super clear, right? Regulation was branded as anti-innovation, and the idea was that forcing tech companies to test models before releasing them was just going to make us lose the global tech race. But now, well, just a short time later, they're reportedly drafting a brand new executive order to create a highly formal government review process. The goal now is to strictly vet new frontier AI models before they ever see the light of day. It is literally a 180-degree flip-flop.
There's a quote going around that I think perfectly sums up the magnitude of this shift. The administration's view of AI just did not survive contact with reality. That tells us something massive, something entirely undeniable must have happened behind closed doors. Reality basically forced officials who were championing this hands-off, let-it-rip approach to suddenly demand heavy-handed government oversight.
So, let's look at what happened. Section 1. Mythos, the technological catalyst.
The answer lies in a highly classified, specific technological breakthrough that totally shattered that hands-off mindset. Enter a model called Mythos. It was developed by Anthropic, and it's a preview AI model that is incredibly capable of finding novel vulnerabilities in computer code. But here is the crucial part. It can daisy-chain those exploits. That means it strings together multiple, seemingly tiny weaknesses to create a massive network breach. When Anthropic previewed this model to a small group that included federal agencies, it was a terrifying wake-up call. Officials realized that if a tool like this was just unleashed onto the open internet, bad actors could easily find and exploit hidden weaknesses in our most critical infrastructure.
Section 2. The new cyber arms race.
And that realization fundamentally changed the cybersecurity landscape overnight. We aren't talking about theoretical risks anymore. We are in a frantic sprint. To understand the sheer panic among cyber professionals right now, listen to Nikesh Arora, the CEO of Palo Alto Networks. He pointed out that the time from somebody breaching an organization to actually extracting the crown jewels has shrunk from days down to minutes. Historically, defenders had days to spot an intrusion and shut it down. Now, AI is moving so fast that human defenders literally cannot keep up without having their own advanced AI systems fighting back in real time.
To put that into perspective, it all comes down to a terrifying time frame: 25 minutes. In a recent AI-assisted scenario documented by security researchers, an attacker could gain initial access to a system and completely exfiltrate sensitive data in just 25 minutes. If your security team is out to lunch, or if you're relying on a standard 90-day software patch window, you've already lost. The window for defense hasn't just shrunk, it has completely collapsed.
Now, consider the sheer scale of the vulnerabilities being discovered. Palo Alto Networks actually got early access to Mythos and ran it against their own code just to see what it would find. Normally, their baseline for discovering critical exploits in a given time frame is under 5. But using this AI model, they discovered 26 critical exploits. That is a massive, unprecedented spike. And remember, this is a top-tier cybersecurity firm we're talking about. If they have dozens of hidden vulnerabilities, just imagine the vulnerability debt sitting on the servers of your local hospital, your bank, or your local government.
Section 3. Bureaucratic chaos, the government turf war.
Now, when you introduce a massive, paradigm-shifting threat like this into a giant bureaucracy, you don't exactly get immediate harmony, right? You get total chaos. A fierce turf war is broken out over who actually gets to control this new AI regulatory push. First, you've got the Center for AI Standards and Innovation, CASI, over in the Commerce Department, filled with safety experts who want to evaluate these models. Then you have the intelligence community, like the NSA, arguing that vetting dangerous cyber weapons should fall under their highly classified jurisdiction. And finally, you still have the let them cook faction, the anti-regulation advocates who think any government interference is a mistake. So right now, all three factions are actively battling for the steering wheel.
And this next point brilliantly illustrates the sheer incoherence happening right now. On one hand, the Pentagon is legally designating Anthropic as a supply chain risk and actively trying to unwind its technology from their systems due to contract disputes. But at the exact same time, the Pentagon is actively implementing Anthropic's Mythos model to scan its own software for vulnerabilities.
You literally have one office trying to uninstall the software while the office next door is desperately installing it. It is a perfect snapshot of bureaucratic whiplash.
And of course, this chaos isn't just contained to the US, it's scaling globally. We've officially entered a new era of AI brinksmanship. Adversaries like China are aggressively lobbying for access to models like Mythos, even reportedly approaching think tanks to try and get their hands on it. Meanwhile, close allies like Germany are setting up their own cyber agencies and demanding access to these state-of-the-art models so they can patch their own vulnerabilities. The secret is out. Everyone knows that whoever holds the most capable AI model holds the keys to the world's cybersecurity.
Section 4. Voters unite in skepticism.
But if we zoom out from the Washington infighting and the international brinksmanship and just look at the American public, a surprisingly unified front is actually forming. The data shows a really rare bipartisan consensus right now. Both Republican and Democrat voters are largely aligned in their deep skepticism and, frankly, their fear of unchecked AI. We're seeing state legislators across the entire country, regardless of party affiliation, racing to pass AI regulation laws. You even have politicians from the far left, like Bernie Sanders, and the firm right, like Ted Cruz, both publicly warning of catastrophic or existential risks. Voters are sending a clear message. This isn't a partisan issue, it's a human safety issue.
So, if there is one core takeaway you get from this entire explainer, it's this. The idea that AI is just another technology, like the early internet or the personal computer, is entirely untenable now. A normal technology doesn't autonomously discover zero-day exploits, write malicious code, and force the world's largest military to completely rewrite its safety protocols overnight. This is a fundamental step change in human capability.
Which leaves us with a final, incredibly high-stakes question to ponder. With AI accelerating both the creation and discovery of cyber threats at breakneck speed, will our messy bureaucratic regulations actually outpace the next massive catastrophe? Or, given those 25-minute attack windows and the intense turf wars happening behind closed doors, are we already too late? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay curious, stay focused, and I'll see you next time.